Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Raising A to Z. It is an informational and inspirational YouTube channel all about homeschooling. My name is Amanda and I am a homeschool mom. I used to be a teacher, but now I stay home and homeschool my kids. So you guys have asked a lot of questions about how do I plan things out? What do my lessons look like? What does that entail for me as a teacher and a homeschool mom? What does planning look like? So we've done a couple of videos on planning. So I have one video on how I plan my whole year. Also last week I did a video on how I things that I do ahead of time to plan out my month. So if you want to see how I plan my month, you want to click up here. The link is up there. So this week I'm going to kind of give you a couple things that I like to do every single week to kind of prepare for the next week that's coming. And these are things that have really helped me kind of stay on top of things, make sure that our house is kind of running smoothly, that we are progressing in our homeschool journey, that we are actually getting through our curriculum and our workbooks and doing activities, as well as like getting out of the house, meeting people, all those kinds of things, right? So I find that having a little bit of a plan ahead of time really helps me function better because I am a planner. I need a plan and it helps me feel calm. And so these are some things that I like to do on a weekly basis. But before I do that, why don't you guys subscribe and click the bell if you like our videos and the kind of stuff that we do. It really, really helps us out when it comes to YouTube. So thank you so much for subscribing if you're already a subscriber as well. When it comes to homeschooling, I really believe if you are not planning, you are planning to fail. And having a basic, simple plan is essential. Flexible that you can adjust it and move it, and nothing is set in stone when you make a plan. But having a plan is like a map. It gives you a general direction in which to go. And I really believe that is super, super helpful. When I start my weekly planning, I'm always gonna grab my planner, the Essential Homeschool Planner. You can find this on our website. I'll put a link to it below. I made this planner because I really needed something that was gonna help me be as productive as I could be and help me stay on top of my things with my kids when it came to homeschooling. And so this is what I use. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go check my monthly calendar. It's empty because of like privacy, but I would go through here and see what is happening in this week. So for example, in this week, we would probably see things like this would be our first day of school. We have some playgroup, things like that. So I'm gonna go through and go to my weekly plan. And I'm gonna start figuring out what my weekly plan is. So usually I would do the first one is socialization. So these are things that we are gonna go out and do. So that's what I put on the first line, is typically it's places that we're gonna go. So, oh, we have playgroup, we're gonna go to it on this day. Oh, we have a doctor's appointment on this day. That's where I'm gonna put things like that so that I can stay on track of it. And then down the sides, I'm gonna put our subjects. So I'm gonna do reading, writing, math, and our unit study. But I'm gonna start with what are the events? What are the things that we are gonna have to leave the house for? Because that helps me know where I can plan in my work blocks, my workbook blocks. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Figure out where my events are, my appointments, my classes, that kind of thing. For example, I know that typically on Mondays, we are at home. We're not going anywhere. I'm probably gonna plan in a bigger workbook block on a Monday. So I'm gonna do things like, we're gonna do math, we're gonna do reading, writing, and I'll probably put in my unit study lesson on that day as well. So that way I have a nice big lesson, I have a bigger chunk of time I can plan it in there versus say something like a Thursday where we often have co-op or we're heading out the door. So I might only be able to do one subject on a Thursday morning. So basically because I can see where my bigger events are, I can plan in my different workbook blocks and make them time appropriate. So I'm not feeling stressed that we have to get out the door, but we also have tons to do. I'm just doing a little bit on days when I'm super busy and doing more on days when we're just hanging out at home. And then I like to add in, under my subject, I'm gonna put in the pages that we're doing for those subjects. So for example, in math, for example, if this was my math block and we're doing Tuesday, I would put in that Alexi is doing pages 43, 44, and 45. That's what she's doing for math. In her spelling, she's gonna do pages 15, and her grammar, she's doing page 17. I don't know, something like that. I put in the work pages so that when it comes to Monday morning, which like Monday mornings are hard for everybody, by the time I roll out of bed and we get started, I don't have to think like, okay, what was the goal for today? Are we trying to do 3 pages today? Are we trying to do all the subjects? Like I already have that written down and it already kind of helps me move along. Like I said, it's a goal. So it's not an expectation. So if, for example, I wrote 3 pages of math and Alexi's like, I really am like tapping out at 2, cool. We tap out at 2 and we'll save it for the next day. It'll kind of adjust, and that's why I try not to do it more than 1 week in advance, because then I can kind of like just add those days in the next week. So if we're 3 pages behind on what I planned for this week, I just add them in next week. Like, it's not a big deal. But sometimes Alexi like zips through and she's like, I'm ready for more. I'll give her some more math or some more of another subject, whatever it is. And then we're ahead. And that's one of the reasons I only do 1 week at a time, is because if you plan out a whole month, if your kids get ahead or behind or whatever you've planned in your head, it can get really confusing as to where you are in your curriculum. So that's why like 1 week blocks I find tend to work well, because there's room to adjust, but you're not like having to redo your lessons plans in like a week and a half or 2 weeks. I'm also gonna add in my unit study activities and figure out what day we're actually gonna do those activities and those bigger lessons. Because my kids are on the younger side, we only do like 4 to 6 unit study activities a month. And so I have planned those, they're already pre-planned. I did that in my monthly planning, but I can kind of slot them in and figure out what days they are and make sure that the order makes sense. That's what we're gonna do, and I put those in, same thing, right into my planner. It just helps keep everything in one spot. I'm also gonna go through the activities when I'm adding them in, make sure that I figure out what supplies are needed for each activity and pull them whatever I'm gonna need for that week. If I'm doing activity where I'm doing footprints in Play-Doh for a dinosaur unit, well, I need to know that I have my cardboard dinosaur cutouts, that I have the Play-Doh, and if I don't have Play-Doh, that I have all the ingredients to make the Play-Doh. And if I need any of those things, that I usually will pull them together and put them in a bin if I have them, or I will make sure to add those things to my grocery list or my shopping list so that I can pick them up before the week starts. We're ready to go. When it comes time on Monday morning to do our unit study activity, I'm good. We have everything we need. The other thing I'm gonna add in to or think about when I'm doing my weekly planning is any chores or activities that are coming up that I need to get done that week. Often I pick like one room that I'm gonna do kind of a bigger clean on. I will add that into my weekly schedule for myself. I just find it's easier to put those things in kind of ahead of time. It gives you kind of a plan that like, okay, when it comes to Friday morning, the kids are gonna do a quick art lesson and then they're gonna get free playtime. Okay, I can schedule in kind of this bigger job, whether it is going through the kids' clothes because I need to like switch them over sizes, because that's something I'm gonna have to do in the next couple weeks. I'm gonna find time and kind of blot those in so at least I know what I need to do. And that way I'm not trying to do everything in one weekend. I can pick or choose 1 or 2 bigger chores to do that are kind of above and beyond my regular stuff and get those kind of scheduled in so that I'm not overwhelmed and that I've picked a day when it's actually a good appropriate time to do it. If that makes sense. Like, I'm not stressing myself out over it. The next thing I'm gonna do is I am going to make my meal plan. Yes, I meal plan. I know a lot of parents who don't, and they just kind of go fly by the seat of the pants, whatever's in the freezer or fridge, that's what we're doing. I don't function that way. In case you haven't noticed, I like to have a plan. I also find, especially with Alexi's food sensitivities and us being kind of outside of the city, it just helps us to know that like I do one big grocery shop, I know what my meals are, I have all the ingredients, anything specialty. If I have to make a different dish for Alexi, like I have all those options, all those things that I need before the week starts. And so I'm a big fan of meal planning. I also think meal planning is super important because it can really help you free up some brain space for yourself and free up some like stress for yourself. So for example, Wednesdays are really busy days for us. Like it is just such a busy day because we start the day with playgroup, we end up getting groceries, we come back, and then we have gymnastics in the evening. So we're gone a good chunk of the day on Wednesdays. I have a list of about 5 or 6 crock pot meals. I know that on a Wednesday, we're having a crock pot meal. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to come up with an idea. I just literally look at my list of 5 top crock pot meals and they're just kind of on a rotation. That's it. I know it's simple, it's easy, I'm done. Same thing with Fridays. Fridays are our Friday fun day. So we do a lot of like fun things. So we're, going on nature walks and doing art classes and poetry tea times and all those kind of fun things. I also know that it's pizza night. Like my brain is clear. I don't need to come home and be like, okay, What am I making? Do I have all the ingredients? How are we gonna do this? I have everything already. And I just know that that's one less thing I need to think about. Friday is automatically pizza night. Wednesday is automatically a crock pot meal. And I just find that having a little bit of a plan, even if it's just dinners, like I don't plan any other meals, but just dinners, it just takes a lot of stress off of me and a lot of mental planning and thought processes. I just don't have to do them because I've already taken 10 minutes before my week started and did it. And the last thing, which is like super, super important, is I take a moment to figure out when I can do some self-care. Homeschooling is hard. If you are home with your kids all day and you're with them all the time and your time out of the home without your kids is very limited, making sure you're taking care of yourself is super important. If you ask any caregiver out there, they're gonna tell you that self-care when you are taking care of others is so important because you will drain and you will burn out. So I like to make sure that I'm figuring out when I can do my self-care, and I've already figured out what I need for self-care. So I'm figuring out what days I can get up and go for my walk and my workout before the kids are up and before Stephen has to go to work. I figure those days out, what days the most feasible and most practical for us, and those are the days that I do it. I also, I know I need to plan. That helps me physically, emotionally, and mentally. It takes the stress off of me. I know where my week is going. I have an idea. Planning is part of my self-care. Is it pretty? No, but it's super important for me and it keeps me centered and focused. And so I have Friday afternoons while the kids are in quiet time, I sit down and that's my time to do all of my plans, all of my meal planning, grocery lists, and just kind of take some time for myself. That's the day when I designate specifically that hour-and-a-half block to just watching a movie and doing my planning and my grocery lists and just chilling. If I finish early, I just sit there and chill. And so that's what I do. I think if you are not planning some self-care into your day and into your routine, you are gonna burn out and you're going to hate homeschooling because you're gonna be so tired, emotionally and mentally. So make sure that you're putting some real good self-care and self-care that you need into your schedule. So that's what my week looks like. That's kind of what my weekly prep looks like. So if you're noticing that I don't have fancy lesson plans, I don't. Because as homeschool parents, we don't need fancy lesson plans. I don't need to know what outcomes I'm hitting when it comes to this lesson for 45 children. I don't need to know that because I know when I'm sitting with my kid that she is understanding the math concept that she's doing. She is able to complete the question, she understands it, and boom, we're done. I don't need to go through a 3-page lesson plan, which is what I had to do in Teachers College, write 3-page lesson plans for every subject. If you're teaching 5 subjects a day, that's 15 pages. So you don't need to do that as a homeschool parent. Having an idea of what days you're doing what subjects, having an idea of what pages you're doing on those days, having an activity, specific activities kind of more planned out if you need it, great. Otherwise, don't stress yourself out with the actual in-depth lesson plans. I just make sure that my kids are getting it. And if they don't get it on Monday, okay, we're gonna try a different approach on Tuesday. And maybe that means finding a YouTube video where someone explains it to you. Maybe it's gonna be rereading our lesson and trying it again. Maybe it's gonna be doing it with hands-on manipulatives or something. There's always time to adjust to the next day and just see how things go. So I don't have crazy in-depth lesson plans, but I always do have a really great, strong weekly plan. And I think that's even more important because it just gives our family better flow and better focus than actually being super worried about hitting every single checkpoint on a lesson plan. I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys like it. If you do like it, remember to subscribe and click the bell. It really helps us out. And if you want to see what kind of activities we do or how our week actually flows, you can definitely follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because I'm always putting stuff up there and you can see what we're doing, and I give a lot of tips and pointers there for you guys as well. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.